This is Up for Debate, episode number 290, recorded February 20th, 2025. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Up for Debate, the debate podcast where the two hosts agree on everything. I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by our own MVP, Matt Mariani. Hello, Matt.
Sean, if I did a halftime show, I would sing songs in your honor, much like Kendrick sang them in honor of Drake.
Yeah, just don't accuse me of being a pedophile, please. That's all I ask. Thank you.
I would try not to.
Matt, we got a hell of an episode here. A lot of exciting things to talk about. I do want to touch on something before we do that, if that's all right. Which is for folks who are subscribers, video or audio, we appreciate that. You get new episodes every single week when they go live. Before this, we have published our 2025 Movie League Draft. It's one of the biggest events we do all year. We had 5 teams, including a new team from the Tomorrow Is Canceled crew, come in, and in a new format, they drafted 20 movies with more money. And I think it was a very successful hour of entertainment. And Matt, I didn't get a chance to talk to you afterwards. If you had any thoughts on your teams or any other team's performance in the draft, how you're feeling as we enter into this new season.
As always, I'm feeling pretty optimistic. I think this time it's a little more deserved optimism. I feel like this. I don't know. I mean, I'll let our performance speak for itself throughout the summer, but I am quite pleased on our selections, particularly getting Minecraft. I think that's gonna be a big one. I think that's gonna be a cash producer, and the rest of them I think just things kind of fell into our lap. Things kind of broke the way. I really have to say I'm not really. There's no like head scratchers like picking the War of the Rohirrim and other bad movie choices like we've had in the past. I think at least War of the Rohirrim broke a record, didn't it, for lowest earnings? Like,
yeah, it was pretty disappointing.
So, I'm pretty happy with this. The only thing, we didn't leave ourselves a ton of cash for the next round, the next batch of movies, which is a little concerning, but I think.
Well, that was going to be my question. You guys spent the most of anybody that night, spending 2/3 of your budget on the first half of movies. Was that an intentional strategy?
Yeah, I think it was. I think we have just enough for one key purchase that I'm eyeing on in the next quarter, and I think I think it panned out well because I think we bet on the fact that the other teams would be a bit more conservative, and they were, hoping for the higher returns of the second half, which there undoubtedly are. There are a lot of big movies coming out the second half of 2025, but I think it helped that we were the standouts with our purchasing. The other teams are kind of spread a little thin around. The other teams are kind of spread a little bit thin around the films that are out there. We kind of focus on our big purchases, so hopefully we make a big enough splash to carry that momentum forward into the second half.
Very fair, Matt. A lot of different interesting strategies. Some purchasing a lot, some purchasing a few, a mix of hits and low budget films. It's going to be exciting to watch. Folks can follow along live all season long at upfordebate.tv/movies. And of course, be sure to watch the show where we'll be updating you on it all throughout the year, including our next draft this July. With that though, Matt, we've got to jump into our main topic for this evening. If folks listened 2 episodes ago, we picked our 10th annual Super Bowl prop bets. I can't believe this is our 10th. And it was destined to be an exciting one. But as always, Matt, before we dig into the exact outcomes of our bets, I have to ask the general question. What do you think of Super Bowl LIX?
Super Bowl LIX. I like it. I think I can sum this up just watching the game. I was highly relieved by the second half. I think the going in and watching it in the beginning, I was nervous for probably about the first quarter and a half. By halftime, it really just seemed like it was in the bag and secured, and 24-0 lead. It kind of was. The second half was some of the most boring football I think I've ever watched. But the first half, there was still some tension. There were some whispers of like, oh, 28-3 Brady and his comeback. I mean, but that's what folks were saying. It's a once in a. I feel like that's not. It doesn't happen all the time. And
Right.
I was at that point. By the time it was halftime, it was 24-0 going in. I felt pretty good about it. I mean, you never want to, call victory until the fat lady sings, but instead we got Kendrick Lamar, and I thought we'll talk about the halftime show in a bit, but his singing I think was kind of really the end of the game. That second half was very boring. I almost felt bad for Mahomes and the Chiefs at a certain point. I almost felt bad for him. It was just like they were getting real beat, and at a certain point, it was just like almost like a mercy killing. It was yeah. I don't know. What did you think? How did you feel about Super Bowl LIX?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the most exciting Super Bowl of all time. Certainly, I think that's obvious. I certainly wouldn't call it the worst by any stretch. I think what interested me more than anything else about it was that we knew we thought we knew the Chiefs might be pretenders. Like, I think that was out there. So the fact that they would lose, I don't think is a shock. They weren't like Goliaths in this. But what surprised me was everyone was like, oh, it's going to be Saquon. It wasn't Saquon. Saquon had an okay game, not a great game by any stretch. It was what we should have known all along, which was it was that defensive line that just pressured Mahomes constantly. It's not a complicated recipe for success. The problem is that doesn't make for exciting football. It makes for boring football. But from a football fan's, not a casual fan's, a football fan's perspective, I think that is enjoyable. And I think there is something to watch about the finesse and expertise of that team who played very well on offense, but played really well on defense. And to watch Mahomes be under pressure so much, I just wish it didn't get out of hand so much so quickly.
Yeah.
I don't mind that it was lopsided, but you're right, that halftime score was pretty devastating. Because, by the way, I kind of tuned out in the back half. I drove back for my brothers during the second half. There was some action. The Chiefs did put up some points. Like, you could argue at least something, it didn't matter, but at least something happened. Yeah. And if the score had been 14-0, you might have been a little more invested, regardless of the final outcome.
I will say two things. One, this was not by far not the most boring Super Bowl I think we've ever seen. I think there were two that I can remember that were at least two that were more boring than this one. You had the big Broncos Seahawks blowout, which was
that might be my pick for the worst.
That would be second on my list. That was more what kept that interesting was the spectacle of just how bad it could get for the Broncos, because it kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And so the hilarity of it, the comedy of it, but as a game, it was not particularly interesting. So for me, the most boring with a bullet, number one, most boring Super Bowl that I have ever witnessed, has to go to Patriots Rams. Was that Super
but
Bowl
it was
53?
Close. But it was close.
It was a close game.
It was never.
The final score, I just looked it up. The final score was 13-3. It was close, but it also, the Rams looked clearly outmatched throughout the game. Now, there was always the potentiality that they could win, right? Because like you said, the differential was close, but it was just they when a team is beat and out, like, just completely overmatched, like the Chiefs were in this Super Bowl, usually you can tell ahead of time, and there were so many signs. And that also happened to be a very defensive-minded game, which for casual fans is not the most exciting, but if you're a fan of, especially if you're a fan of good defensive fundamentals, that was your cup of tea. But like, the most unenjoyable I think for me to watch was probably that one, because it was just, and of course that was back when I was still a Saints fan, so it was like the Saints, that was the one where the Saints should have been. It should have been the Saints instead of the Rams at the time. You know, the famous robbery, the pass interference robbery.
Well,
Which just convinced me that
I
the whole
think,
franchise was cursed, so that's why I switched over to the Eagles.
well,
So
they are. I mean, that's
yeah,
a
that's
known
a given.
fact. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't argue with that.
Mhm.
No, what was interesting to me is all the story. You know, we're a big storyline, right? We talk about what are the storylines, and how few of them actually panned out. Whether it's Mahomes' heroics, whether it's the officials, which the officials were fine. I mean, there was
Yeah.
maybe one iffy
I
call, but it
I
didn't
would
matter. They were
wager
fine.
I would wager they were fair, and the majority of the calls went in the Eagles' favor. Actually, I think that's pretty
Uh,
obvious. Yeah.
the stadium or field conditions, which were fine. Tom Brady as a commenter, oh, he's going to blow it. He was fine.
Mhm.
Um, I just think like when you think back to the Super Bowl, nothing really jumps out at you of like what is the Super Bowl remembered for. And I guess the fact it was a blowout, but short of that, it wasn't even like the Eagles had these big dramatic plays. They had like one long
I mean,
pass.
they had the long pass to Devonta Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did the tush push
Mostly,
touchdown, but
mostly the plays were defensive. I mean, you had Josh Sweat, I think, got 3 sacks. You had the strip. One of them was a strip sack. You had a
the
rookie getting
Cooper
a big sack.
DeJean,
Cooper
uh,
DeJean pick six.
that was
Yes,
probably your most memorable play,
that
which
would
was great.
that will probably be the play of the. I think that would be considered the play of this Super Bowl, on his birthday, no less. Cooper DeJean and I share a birthday. Cooper
That's right.
DeJean
You
and Saquon Barkley and I all
and
share a birthday.
the three
We're all
best Eagles.
February 9th. Yeah, that's right. The second point I wanted to bring up before was the more interesting than the game itself. I was very closely watching our bets, our the purpose of this show, our prop bets. So I think that's a perfect segue to lead into talking about them. But they were close, they were exciting, and they were a lot more close and exciting than the game.
Yeah, well, this is arguably the closest final score we've had um, in years. It was actually incredibly back and forth between the two of us, and a few of these bets went in interesting directions. So, Matt, why don't we dive in? Great segue. We're going to start right up at the top and go in sort of sequential order of these, and we'll hit on a few other aspects of halftime and some of those things a little bit later. But we got to start with our number one bet, which is the coin toss. Always a bit of a 50-50 proposition. One you and I have sort of split over the years. You took heads, I took tails, but you had first pick, right? And I kind of had to take tails.
I think we said traditionally it's the winner of last year picks. Is that how we did it?
I believe it was traditionally the loser of no. Traditionally, Matt always picks the coin toss. I believe.
Okay.
You always get first pick on that.
I knew there was
you
some
picked
kind of a
heads.
tradition there. Yeah.
I took tails. Tails was in fact the winner. So I started up 1-0 right there to start.
Yeah. I think I didn't really base that on anything. I had just visions of it being heads. Yeah.
It's a total 50-50 shot. We also both picked that the Chiefs would win the coin toss, and they did. Which I'm trying to remember how I scored this. Did I? Yes, we both got 1 point for that. So that takes it to 2-1 in favor of me to start us off. Now, rolling into the anthem, Matt, maybe one of the most controversial anthems we've ever had in terms of time. So Vegas set the over-under at 120.5 seconds, so right over that 2-minute mark. We both took the over. Matt, were you I was timing it myself. Were you paying attention to the time when he was singing it?
I was searching for the cameo that I think we'll get into in a moment. That's what I was doing. I did not time it though.
Yeah,
I actually had quite an issue. I couldn't find my remote, and I was panics. I think believe at the time I was panic searching for the remote, and I got it right as soon as the anthem started. So even if I had timed it, it would have been inaccurate. So I missed the whole tunnel entrances. I missed the announcing of the teams, all of that, because I was frantically. I drove out to get pizzas, and then I came back like just in time, and then the remote was missing. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, well, one of the things you didn't miss much, by the way. Most of that was kind of a lot. But one of the things we had talked about last time was the fact that when Batiste sings the anthem with instruments, he tends to go longer, and in this case, he played a piano to accompany it. Uh, we had both taken the over. Here's the thing, Matt. My unofficial time put it at 1 minute and 59 seconds, exactly one short. Most of the public Vegas results put it between 159 and 2 minutes, or 150, 119 or 120. Well, the line was 120.5. Technically, it was under, barely by 1 second. We've never had a result that close.
Yeah, right off the bat, you knew it was going to be a wild night.
It should have given us a clue. And I believe because of the way this is set up, it's the first time. Oh, it's not the first time neither of us got it. That's not true. Last year we both got it, but right at 2 minutes. What a shame to miss that. But Matt, I know you were. So listen, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little annoyed you scammed me a little bit here. I was cursing you at my Super Bowl party over the shenanigans you pulled here. I can't believe I let you do that. We had Will Taylor Swift be shown during the national anthem. I said no, and you weren't satisfied enough to say yes or no. Instead, you said, well, Shaun, I think they're going to cut to Trump, and if they do, I want 2 points. And I was stupid enough to say, sure, Matt, you can have 2 points. What happened, Matt?
They sure enough, wouldn't you believe it? They cut to Trump, didn't they? They cut right to Trump.
That was really, but not to Taylor Swift.
And also, yeah, importantly, not to Taylor Swift. So I honestly, I felt pretty 50-50 about that, but I thought they were going to also at least cut to Swift. Taylor Swift got, I was trying to keep track. I think I only saw one. I only saw them pan to her once throughout the entire game. And then there was the famous one where I guess they showed her in the stadium and she was booed. So it was like, they didn't cut really, because the Chiefs didn't do much. That's probably why. They didn't really do much. They didn't really show up. And I think Travis only got like 2 catches all night. So it wasn't really worth panning up to her. So, but they did pan to Trump, and he got, he got me 2 points. So there we, I believe on the double or nothing.
I'm so annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
So annoyed, Matt, which that now ties us at 3-3, heading into actual game time. So close already. Matt, this next bet is maybe the one I am most proud of, maybe in the history of ever doing this, these prop bets, because it was a bet on Tom Brady's tie color. You said blue. I said black. Now, black had not very good odds. It was 1,200 odds behind red, no tie, silver, or blue. And I had a hankering, and everyone said I was crazy. Nobody believed in me. That why would Tom Brady wear a black tie to the Super Bowl? That's crazy. Well, listen, I'm the fashionista on the show.
Clearly.
I know expensive guy clothing. And I said, Tom Brady is wearing a black tie to not show favoritism to any team. And he did it. And I'm very proud of that point.
Yeah, that was some bold reasoning there. Also, this was the first time this didn't even enter my thought process, but it was the first time a sitting president has ever attended a Super Bowl. Famously, before this, they had when he was president, Ronald Reagan, they had him do the coin toss via satellite one year, but this was the first. So I think it should have been, I guess, more. It should have been like even more obvious that they were going to cut to him during the anthem, because they want to have like it's going to be like video record now that there was a president there. So
well, and of course, You remember in our halftime specials that George H.W. Bush and Barbara Bush appeared during the halftime special to wish the troops well in the Gulf War
Yes.
during the Salute to Kids halftime
Salute to
special.
kids. Yeah.
Um, and Bill Clinton did attend the World Cup. So there you go. No, that is a fun fact. Indeed. Um, Next here, how many first downs or touchdowns will be made using the tush push? I took the under, you took the over, and once again somehow managed to con me that if they did a fake one, you would somehow get an extra point. I have to remember not to let you do this next year, or I need to do it too and just make up a bunch of stuff where I get points. Thankfully for me, they only did one the entire game. It was for a touchdown, but the over-under was set at 2.5. It landed on the under. That is a point for me.
Yeah, this was a bet that was made assuming that the Chiefs were actually going to show up and play football, and they in fact did not. So that assumption really cost it's going to end up costing me down the line, as you'll see.
Yes, for better or worse. Yeah, not exciting. They didn't need it because they didn't have a lot of short downs. Yes.
Yeah, I made a lot of risky bets this year's Super Bowl. A lot more edgier for sure. I think this is my edgiest year. Riskiest year. But this bet really honestly, this bet felt pretty secure. I was actually very surprised. But again, if the Chiefs offense had actually shown up and their defense, if they had actually appeared on the field, this might have been a safer bet for me. But as it stood, I really thought they were going to get a couple. The fake one was, that was just for fun. But I also thought they would have to get more creative. They really didn't have to get that creative because the Chiefs handed them this game. So,
yep, they did. Unfortunately, we got stuck watching it. Yeah. This next bet, Matt, I think this was your worst bet of the night, I'll be honest. I was happy to take the point here. Any kick attempt to hit the upright or crossbar. Now, the gamble was that Harrison Butker is a little injured, and he's been dinging him a bit. The thing is, he didn't kick all night.
Yeah, so... we didn't. I was going to say, we didn't see him at all.
And instead, you got the incredibly reliable Jake Elliott. So I took no, you took yes. It was no. There were no dings. And so gives me another point. I'm up to 6-3 at this point.
Did you know Jake Elliott? I read this after the game. Jake Elliott, he appeared at the stadium 8 hours early to kick a field. So he was to kick a field goal from every conceivable position on the field and make adjustments as needed. So he put in the work. He definitely put in the work. He was the first one at the stadium. He was kicking field goals while they were setting up for the event.
Well, incredibly, he made he made 4 extra points and 4 field goals, including 3 that were 48, 48, and 50 yards. An incredible kicking performance. I mean, arguably, I don't know if I would say he's the MVP, but he's definitely in the running. In terms of what he was able to accomplish.
Yeah, he's reliable where it counts. That's for sure. Not for winning me bets, but reliable when it comes to winning football games.
Not a great gamble, but this next one, hey, the number of the first touchdown scorer. I took over, you took under. The line was 15.5. Probably a bad bet on my part as we were going through all the numbers of the players. Most of them were under 15. And once you know it, Matt, number 1, Mr. Jalen Hurts scores from the 1-yard line, the first touchdown of the game. That's a point for you, taking the score to 6-4 in my favor.
Incredible, another missed opportunity for me, Shaun, because I actually did bet that Jalen Hurts would score the first touchdown of the game, and I actually won that bet on FanDuel. So if I had done the same thing on our little wager, I should have said specifically, it will be under 15 and it will be Jalen Hurts, number 1, and I want to bet double points on that. But missed opportunity right there.
Well, what really kind of rankled me quite aggressively is the play right before that was a
Ooh,
long Jalen Hurts throw to Jahad Dotson, who got
Dotson.
it to the 1 yard line, who's number 83. And if he had made it
Mm.
one more
It,
yard,
it,
I would have won.
yes,
Oh,
and
I
that
was
was
so
originally
upset.
it was originally called a touchdown, and then it was
Yep,
called back. They
he had
said he
his
was a
knee
yard
down.
short. Yeah,
That was really not because that was my whole gamble was basically Jahad Dotson gets the first touchdown because he was like him and like one other guy who had high numbers. So I'm like, it's got to be Jahad Dotson, who did have a great game, but unfortunately didn't make me any points. Um, so Matt, let's roll into the halftime show here. Kendrick Lamar performing a lineup of all his greatest hits: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 songs performed. Matt, what did you think of the halftime show?
I enjoyed it. I liked it. I I can't say that I'm a huge Kendrick guy. I haven't really listened to his music, but I thought that the show was entertaining. I liked the uh PlayStation controller setup. I understand there's a lot of hidden meaning and symbolism in there, and that was cool to kind of unpack and look at. I wish I had bet that Uncle Sam would be in the halftime show, and by Uncle Sam I mean Samuel L. Jackson. But who knew he was gonna show up and really steal the show away? I thought that was great. Yeah, we had I think
Yeah,
yeah, two celebrity, right? I think Serena Williams was also there.
SZA was there. Yes,
SZA.
she was there as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, absolutely. No, it was a. I agree. I thought it was a great performance as well. Enjoyable. Even as somebody who doesn't know a lot about Kendrick Lamar, I enjoyed it. I did, as I always do, rewatched it right before we were doing the show here. The whole thing is up on YouTube, and I liked it more actually. I think where I was and where a lot of people was at a party with other people are talking over it, and you see some of it, but you don't really focus on it. Being able to play it on YouTube and really listen and hear the whole thing and focus on it, I actually enjoyed it more because you really could catch. This is the type of thing where you want to see the intricacies in the performance versus some big rock or pop thing. And so on a rewatch, I actually liked it a lot. I appreciated that there was spectacle, but not an insane amount of spectacle. It was sort of an interesting way. It reminds me. I still think one of my favorites, not my number one, but one of my favorite halftime shows, is The Weekend down in Tampa Bay a couple years ago. And what I liked about it is the production design was there, but it also wasn't like it was big, but it wasn't like glitzy big. It was like telling a story big. And that's kind of what I appreciated about this is the spectacle served the story and not the other way around. And so overall, I would say, is it the best ever? No, but I think it was extraordinarily solid, better than even my expectations. And I enjoyed it.
I agree with you, by the way. The Weekend I thought was a great halftime show. That was one of my favorites of recent memory. One of my favorites, I think, of all time. And the I remember that stage being magnificently set up, and he had poured his own money into it. So that halftime show will always forever have a place in my memory. So yeah, this was. I feel like this stages have gotten to be more like like you said, telling a story. The way the stages are set up, the way the songs, the costumes, it's all there's something to be said about like the halftime show as a narrative that it's just in a strange way harkens back to uh the Indiana Jones halftime show, because that was a narrative with Harry Belafonte, who is the singer for the Wayne Newton or Wayne, who
Uh,
was it?
yeah, actually it was Patty LaBelle was in that one.
Patti LaBelle, yeah,
Um,
and Wayne Newton, I think, yeah.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like that told a story that yeah, that's become more of the trend. I feel like is like to have a message often like coded. Like I think that started with Lady Gaga's halftime show, which was the Patriots Falcons Super Bowl. She had like a very um specific thing she was trying to say, I think, in her songs and in her lyrics, and with the drones everywhere. The drones made the flag. It's been very interesting the way, because when we were kids, that wasn't the Super Bowl. That wasn't what the Super Bowl halftime show was. The halftime show for us, our memory was stars, and then later on you had rock. You had a lot of like older rock people who were there, like kind of making their defining their sending their career out with an exclamation point. You had the Who, you had Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen, you had Prince, Paul McCartney. Like that's who you had in the halftime show. But now it's more they're using the halftime show in interesting ways, and I think for my money, The Weeknd did it the most interestingly. If you really look at his halftime show and what it was supposed to be and the story he was telling and how it interplayed with his albums and how it interplayed with his other recent public appearances. But Kendrick's was pretty good too. No.
Yeah, and by the way, I will say for the record, I still think my number one is probably Coldplay, Beyonce, Bruno Mars. Mainly because three big stars, lots of catchy songs that we all know, high energy. But there was also that little versus moment with Bruno Mars and Beyonce. It felt big. That's probably still my personal favorite. But as a amateur Super Bowl halftime historian, when the Super Bowl, it used to be Winter Magic and used to be marching bands, and when it converted to sort of mainstream pop star acts, what the NFL was having a problem with is people were changing the channel at halftime. They would literally watch something else, and that was a problem. And so Michael Jackson was really the first, big name to start this back in, what was that, 91, with the goal of keeping eyes on the television. But what's interesting to me is that's changed because the Super Bowl is the biggest thing on planet Earth, and people aren't flipping away at halftime. They're just not. You could put on any act and people would watch it. But also, ratings aren't necessarily the only thing that counts anymore. And I think the NFL realizes buzz is what they need, and good buzz at that is really going to do more for them than the ratings. And so it used to be get the biggest stars on the planet with the most number ones and the most radio play. And I don't think that matters as much anymore. When you can have someone with some controversy or with some edge or with some appeal to an online demographic. And so I think you're going to see more of this in future years where you may think, that's an interesting pick. But boy, this thing was big online with the Drake thing, with the Samuel L. Jackson thing. It was conversational. It got people interested and curious in the weeks leading up to it that I think a regular artist wouldn't have done. And so I think it worked this year, and I would expect in future years it's going to be more artists with a point of view or one that is worth talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone says Taylor Swift for halftime. I think that's the exact opposite of what the NFL wants. Because I think that would be, I don't want to say boring, but I think it would be expected. And I don't think that would get people amped up to tune in and see what's going on. I think it would be an excuse to be like, I've seen Taylor Swift. I know Taylor Swift. She's not going to show me anything new. So who can show something new? It'd be fun to see who they pick next year. I enjoyed it very much, Matt. Going back to our prop bets, we each picked 3 songs that we thought were going to show up. And we split it. We each got 2 correct. I got Not Like Us and Luther. You got Humble and All the Stars. Probably one of my biggest misses of the night is I can't believe I didn't pick TV Off, because of course that's going to be the last song he plays. TV off, as he's wrapping up. That was stupid. But we both got 2 points. It brings the score at this point in the show to 8-6 in my favor. So a fair split, which is actually pretty common.
Yeah.
Very rarely are there blowouts in this category between you and I.
Yeah, I was gonna say, has that ever happened? Have we ever had one of us sweep?
We've never had a full sweep.
Yeah.
In back-to-back years, I got three and you got one, and then the previous year you got three and I got one, but no one's ever gotten zero.
Yeah,
Which is hard to do if you think about it, because usually
it
these
is.
artists have two or three songs that are so big they're gonna perform them. Like,
Yeah.
not like us and Humble, where two he was gonna do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you knew that.
Now, Matt, before we get to the finale of the game, and we certainly will, I want to talk about one of the other big aspects of any Super Bowl, which is the commercials. I have the article here. USA Today does their famous USA Today ad meter, where they check in with the public on which ads are the most and least liked. But I'm curious, any of the Super Bowl ads stick out to you for good or bad reasons?
Um, not this was in my opinion, this was a very weak year for ads. Usually there's at least one that like sticks with me, and I guess like when you think about the best ad being Eugene Levy's eyebrows flying off
Mm-hmm.
and landing in a tree or whatever, becoming friends with the caterpillars, which I believe was for a Little Caesars commercial. And then that was what was weird was
Yeah.
that you had the eyebrows with Levy, and then another commercial somebody's mustache flew off. I don't
Yeah,
remember
for
what
Pringles.
that was for Pringles, right? So I thought I was like, is there going to be a corporate tie-in? Are they doing like a Pringles Little Caesars promotional like joint promotion? I was like, are they
Mm-hmm.
putting Pringles chips on Little Caesar? What is going on? Or is rather, I guess the more logical one would be like Pringles would be doing a Little Caesars flavored chip. I thought there was going to be some kind of corporate synergy, and instead it just came off looking like one had copied the other's homework. Um, I did as a whole, I didn't care for the ads this year at all. That was really the most. And then you had the seal commercial with Seal as a seal, which just seemed like one of the least imaginative things. That what if Seal was a seal? Like, was the somebody smoking a joint in the in the boardroom? Shaun, I don't know if there's any way to tell this, but to me, I thought it looked like a lot of these ads were made by AI, or at least like scripted by AI, written by AI, if not directly produced by them. What do you think about that?
Uh, I would probably disagree, but what I will say is I think there's become a certain template of what a Super Bowl commercial is that I think intentionally or unintentionally these companies are falling into. Every commercial had some sort of celebrity. Every commercial had some sort of bit um, to it, short form bit. Every one of them had been online for weeks before the Super Bowl, which is kind of crazy to me. Yes, they all felt extremely similar. I totally agree where you're coming from.
Um, I thought actually the most in terms of its effectiveness, in terms of efficacy,
Yeah, any
I
products you're
thought
now more likely to buy?
no. What I thought the most effective ad for my money was the oh, I'm trying to find what it was. It was the right before the halftime show. It was I think it was it Charmin
Oh, the Angel Soft with the potty
Angel
break?
Soft. That's what it was. Yeah, the Angel Soft break. It was like it was right before the halftime show, and it was like you have like it was just a countdown, like a countdown, and it was like go take a bathroom break. Like we know you haven't had a bathroom break. Like go take a bathroom break. Brought to you by Angel Soft. That I thought was actually the most. It was because it was the most creative. Like I don't think a company has done that yet. Like just interrupt, not interrupt, but like their ad is just a countdown timer. I thought that was it was doing more with less, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. That was actually of the few articles I read. Unfortunately, one of the lowest ranked ads of the Super Bowl. People didn't
Yeah,
appreciate as much as you did.
yeah, I could see.
Um,
I guess because I was thinking about the meta of the ad rather than the
mhm.
content of the ad itself. It was one of the few ads that didn't feature a celebrity or any person really. It was just a countdown timer and like a bear that
Well,
said you
yeah,
deserve a
that's the
break.
thing. there weren't any real clever gimmicks this year. Like I remember the one year, maybe one of my favorite Super Bowl commercial gimmicks was I don't remember which Super Bowl it was. You might remember when Tide detergent did a series
Yes,
of commercials where they would like
I
appear in other
other
commercials.
commercials. I actually wanted to. I was gonna mention that that those are some of my favorite ads of all time. The Tide commercials. That was a couple years, not that long ago. I want to say
No, in
that
the
was like
last two
probably
or three
20,
years.
yeah, probably 2023, 2022. Yeah, those were good. Yeah, the Tide commercials were really good.
And I do so I love when they push the envelope like that. This year we didn't I didn't see anything that I was like, huh, I've never seen that before. No, it was all pretty predictable. I can tell you, Matt, according to the USA Today ad meter ranking, the number one Super Bowl commercial as rated on by viewers was the Budweiser first delivery ad. It was, believe it or not, you may not know this, Budweiser Clydesdales have been in a lot of commercials over the year. This is the first commercial where they've ever shown a baby horse, a foal, if you will, delivering a keg to a bar for patrons to drink. That was the highest rated. Behind that was the Lay's Potato, the Little Farmer, about the little girl who grows a potato. The Michelob Ultra Hustle, starring Willem Dafoe and Catherine O'Hara playing pickleball. And after that, the Stella Artois, David and Dave, with Dave Beckham and Matt Damon as his long lost brother.
I will also give a shout out to probably my personal favorite ad, besides the Charmin, the ultra soft one. Was it was a second half commercial, so many people probably have missed it because they had either fallen asleep or turned the game off at that point. But it was toward the end of it was like in the fourth quarter, and it featured our guy, Harrison Ford, and it was not a Ford commercial. It was a Jeep commercial. So
Yes.
he did a commercial for Jeep, and he said he ended the ad by saying like, "I really like this car, even though my last name is Ford." He mouthed the word Ford. So I thought that was cool because Harrison Ford's cool, and he's always cool in my book. So
Yes, a memorable one. I do. I think my favorite ad was actually the Bud Light cul-de-sac ad. I don't know if you remember that one with Post Malone, Shane Gillis. What's his name? Peyton Manning makes an appearance. It really was in the vein of the old stupid beer commercials back in the day, where it was just like one big silly joke, where they're in the cul-de-sac, and I think my favorite line from that is he pulls up in a lawnmower and he opens it up and it's a meat smoker, and the neighbor goes, "Whoa, your mower has a smoker in it?" And he goes, "No, my smoker mows grass." It was just stupid and funny, and I kind of appreciated that. It had that old school mentality. I will say on this USA Today list, the ads that ranked the lowest included the Coffee Mate cold foam commercial with the tongue that was partying in the mouth, which was pretty bad. Also, the Taco Bell ads with the fans, and those Ray-Ban Meta ads with Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth.
what about the ad where Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady shout at each other about
About hate?
racism? Yeah,
Now,
where those
that
rank?
was that was something. Did you see the breasts ad?
Yeah. That that was interesting. That was an
I
interesting one. Yeah, that was an interesting one. I got what they were going for though. I liked the juxtaposition. I liked how they kind of pulled the rug out from under us. Very titillating ad, one
mm-hmm.
might say.
Well, it was a fine year. I hope next year they just back off the celebrities a little bit. And just try and make funny ads that make me smile. I can't ask for more.
I doubt they will, but
No, of
I
course not.
agree. I hope they do the more clever. I'm just trying to. I want them to be more clever, like the Tide ads. Those were so smart. No crypto. I thought we would get a little bit of maybe some crypto, but nothing. No
There
crypto ad.
was a
Was there?
Chat GPT ad,
Yes, there was an ad for ChatGPT.
but you're right. The crypto
No
space
crypto.
kind of folded. It was a lot of legitimate brands. a few kind of oddballs like the cookware from Gordon Ramsay,
Yep.
which I was like, is that a thing? And of
I thought that
course,
was a joke at first. I thought that was going to be like a joke that was promoting a different.
something
I thought it was
else.
going to be like a Grubhub commercial or something.
No,
Yeah.
they're just pans. They're
Yeah.
just pans. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, the we get it every year. The He Gets Us Jesus
Of
ad
course.
as well that always runs.
And the Scientology ad that you get right after the halftime show. That's like
That's right.
you could set your watch to both of them. Mm-hmm.
Well, very good, Matt. Well, why don't we head towards the end of the game here? It was inevitable. We saw it coming, certainly as we went through the first half. We got to talk about the color of the Gatorade. Game is over. Dump the Gatorade on the winning coach. I had picked purple. You had picked orange. And for the first time ever, Matt, we've never seen this color in the 10 years we've been doing this. They dumped yellow Gatorade, so neither of us won.
Really, that was the first yellow Gatorade bath in our time, huh? Okay.
We've had blue, orange, green, and purple, and none, but never yellow.
And see, if I had followed my old school of thought, which was they dump the color that is the closest color to the winning team's jerseys, which I was proved to be bunk. If I had actually followed that logic, that's the color I would have chose for the Eagles to dump. It was that yellow green.
But I want to be clear here because there is a green and there is a yellow. Back in 2018,
Right. No,
when the
but I
Eagles
know
won, they did dump green on
green.
the Eagles.
I would have probably gone yellow green on this one, or the one that they had. But
Yeah.
I didn't follow that same logic. I followed the logic of they dumped the orange Gatorade on Nick Sirianni when they won the NFC Championship, and maybe they like the same Gatorade. I thought that was more.
That would make sense. That's a good strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, we've actually missed this one more than we've hit it, so can't really be surprised. Of course, the winner, Matt. It's been very clear here. Your Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl world champions, having beaten the Chiefs. You picked them, so you get a point there, taking you to 8-7. But unfortunately, neither of us got the score. We both thought it would be a close game. In fact, you thought it would be tied and go into overtime. It wasn't. It was 40-22 was the final score. But Matt, the interesting thing is you could have tied it with the right MVP pick.
Yeah, this was insane. This was actually some insanity on my part.
Yeah, that I would have looked stupid if it didn't work, but my strategy did work. I split the winner and the MVP in case I got one of them wrong. I took the Chiefs to win, but Jalen Hurts to be MVP. He was the MVP. I pick up the points. You had picked Saquon Barkley, who was definitely not. With a final score, Matt, of your 2025 Super Bowl 59 prop bet challenge, 9-7. I am victorious.
9-7.
9-7 is the final score.
9-7.
So close, very close. Could have easily. And by the way,
how did you get those 2 points at the end? You said we were tied going into the end. And then,
oh, sorry, it was.
Because I picked the winning team, but you picked the MVP. Should be 8-7. I feel, but I don't know. Unless there was something we missed here.
Oh, am I giving you an extra point for no reason? No, because we were 8-6 coming out. It went to 9-6 because you picked the Eagles, and then it went 9-7. Well, no, it should be 8-7 and then 9-7.
Okay. I thought I only lost by 1.
I will recheck my math, but I believe I'm correct.
I feel a little bit better if I tell me I lost by more than 1, because I would feel a lot worse by picking. I mean, there were a lot of blunders, I feel like, but congratulations, Shaun, on your win. You had a very good strategy, I think, of splitting the differences between the team and the MVP. That proved to be, I think, your key to victory. And you definitely played it safer than me. There's a lot of risky maneuvers on my part that ended up biting me in the end.
Yes, unfortunately, the sort of mid-game picks didn't do you any favors. And so you had won last year. I ended your two-peat. And I'm the 2025 champion.
That you are. I would like to point out, though, that I was very close to picking the Super Bowl matchup last year, because I know we're gonna end the show doing that. We always pick what we think next year's Super Bowl matchup will be. But I want do you remember who I picked last year? What was my Super Bowl for
I have it
last year?
right here in front of me.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't have to talk about who I picked because it wasn't even remotely close. But you had picked the Eagles Bills, which is pretty
I did.
darn close.
I picked Eagles Bills for that was going to be the 2025 matchup, and it was Eagles Chiefs, but the Bills made it pretty dang far. The Bills were a game away. It could have very easily have been Eagles Bills, which would have been awesome. But
Yeah, probably would have been closer.
now if you look
Certainly.
a little bit further, you look at my matchups. My NFC AFC matchups were a little bit off. I think that I had the Eagles playing the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship, right? And then
Yep. And you had Bills Texans.
I had Bills Texans. Yeah, some though that was a little bit off. Texans did they were in the playoffs, but it was interesting picks there.
Yeah, and I have to be
Um,
transparent. I had Packers Lions for the NFC. I had Bengals Texans for some reason, and I had a Super Bowl of Packers Bengals. I'm a huge moron, so not even close. Well, listen, Matt. Next year, Super Bowl 60, Super Bowl LX, will be here. Do you want to take a swing at who you think's going to be playing next year?
Ooh. um, wow. Well, I don't think the Eagles are going anywhere. So that's gonna be my first pick. We're gonna do it in order. We're just gonna say we're gonna go into the championship first, and then we'll go into the Super Bowl. So
Yes.
NFC Championship, you've got the Eagles. Oh, Eagles Vikings is pretty tempting, but that's not my final pick. Uh, let me think on this one. I'll think about that matchup a little bit more. Um, of course, you got the Lions. We could say the Lions they're not going anywhere, right? They're not
Yep.
going anywhere. Dang, this is tough. This is tough.
A lot of good football teams.
I think, yeah, you know what? I
Do
think
I?
we're gonna get.
Do I know what?
I think we're gonna get. I think we're gonna get Eagles Washington again. We're gonna get a repeat.
Okay.
We're gonna get a repeat because I think Washington is also pretty dang good. I think the Lions they lost some of their coaches,
Mm-hmm.
some of their players. I think that
Yes.
their window may have shut.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to do a repeat because that's lame, but I think we're gonna get Eagles Washington again. And I think we're gonna get the same result. I see Philadelphia beating Washington, going to the Super Bowl, and they're gonna play on the AFC side of things. Let's see. I think that you'll get the Baltimore Ravens back again. I think the Chiefs they may be cooked. I think the Chiefs may be cooked. I don't see them going back this year. I think they're going to take Travis may retire. There's talks that he may retire. You got some other key pieces that may be leaving. I think they may be cooked. I think we're going to put in Ravens and Bills again, or I really want to give the Bills a fair shake here, but I can't be. It's too predictable. This is too predictable. There's got to be
Yeah, have some
you
fun.
got to get a little bit of craziness in here. You got to get a little crazy with these picks. So what the hell? Let's do Ravens Chargers AFC Championship. Let's do Ravens Chargers.
Okay.
That's a little crazy, huh? Ravens
Okay.
Chargers.
And who wins?
The Ravens. Come on.
Ravens go to the Super Bowl.
So the Super Bowl, my Super Bowl pick for next year, Ravens Eagles. How about that?
And who wins?
Um, I got it. I can't abandon my birds. It's going to be the birds.
You think they go
The
back to
Eagles.
back?
A battle of the birds. It's going to end with the birds winning. So Eagles back-to-back Super Bowl wins.
Wow. Wow.
I would love to know what the payout would be for this crazy bet. This is like this matchup would be incredible payout.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, buddy.
Um,
You make that
just the
money.
fact that the Chargers are even in there, and that fact that I chose them over the Houston Texans or over the Bills, I think that's crazy. I mean, I think that there's just too much talent for Baltimore to not be in the conversation. There's only so many times Lamar will be denied. Um, I think the, I mean the, I just see the fat getting fatter. The only exception I think the Lions will take a step back. Um, and I think the Texans might take a step back, but I think you might see yeah, you might see San Francisco back in it. Like they were plagued with injuries this year. Of course, you might also see the Packers. The Packers were, I think, a threat this year. They also were plagued with injuries, but you never know. That's my pick. I'm not thinking about it
All
anymore.
right.
What about yourself, Sean?
Listen, man, I could pick all the predictable teams. I could pick the Chiefs. I could pick the Bills. I could pick the Ravens. I could pick the. Are there any good NFC teams? No, I could pick Philadelphia. I could pick. Listen, that's fine. I could do that. I don't want to do that because if I do that, that's not fun. And I hope that's not the case because I like when different teams get the shot. So I'm blowing this up, Matt. This is Sean's wild picks for next year. First of all, I want to put out into the world. I think next year the New England Patriots not only make the playoffs, they win a playoff game. They're not going to the Super Bowl. They're not even going to the AFC Championship, but they're going to make the playoffs and win a game. That's my prediction number one. When it comes to your AFC and NFC championships, in the AFC, I think you talk all the time about windows closing. I think the Bills' window has closed. I just find it hard to believe that they're going to make it all the way back to the AFC Championship again. They're still a great team, but the hangover is real. I think it's going to be a down year from them. I think the Ravens, after another playoff loss, I worry about them. Um, and are they going to be able to do it? I think it's time for some new blood in the AFC. I think it's going to be Bengals, who really were on an upswing at the end of this year. If they can sign T. Higgins, they're going to have a great team versus the Broncos. I'm believing in Sean Payton. I think he's an excellent coach. I think they're going to have a great draft. They already have a very good team. He's a smart guy. I think the Bengals are going to win against the Broncos and go into the Super Bowl and return. On the NFC side, I don't know who's going to come out of the NFC, to be honest. I didn't include the Eagles because I just don't think a repeat is fun. So I just acted like they didn't exist. I think the Lions are absolutely going to have a down year. There's no, if they make it to the Super Bowl next year, it's got to be the greatest story in the history of football, considering how much they've lost year over year. So I picked two teams that finally are going to get their chance in the sun. I think it's going to be the Buccaneers, who make the playoffs every year, win a game. I think Baker Mayfield's very talented. I think they have a very talented team. I think if they can stay healthy and have a good offseason, sure, why not? And I like rooting for them. And I'm going to put the Chicago Bears to make the NFC Championship game. I like
Yeah,
Ben Johnson as a coach. I think Caleb Williams still has a lot of potential. I think they've got a good defense. I mean, they're not a bad team. I think they're going to be set up this year for success. I cannot believe I'm saying this. This is going to look so stupid when we come back to it next year. A
I think you said
Buccaneers.
this about your last year's pick.
Oh, I was so stupid last year. A Buccaneers Bengals Super Bowl, and why not? Because I just want it to will it into the world to happen. Your
Bucks
20
Bengals.
your 2026 Super Bowl 60 champions, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's go.
Oh, oh, you know Tom Brady doesn't play there anymore.
They don't need him. They got Baker Mayfield, the
Baker
Sooner himself.
Mayfield is going to lead. He's going to
Yep.
leapfrog over all those teams. He's going to leapfrog over the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs.
The
They're
Eagles.
just going to and the Eagle. Well, oh, that's right. Yeah, the Bucks are in the NFC. Wow. They're
Yep.
going to leapfrog over the Eagles. They're going to leapfrog over the Washington
What they're going to
football
do,
team.
they're going to do
Wow.
Giants style run. They're going to come in as a wild card, and they're going to go all the way to the Super Bowl and win
Well,
it.
that's just the thing. Anything, truly anything can happen. So all these bets, I mean, I just happen to get really lucky picking Eagles, Bills, and then being one game off.
Well, you also picked like the two best teams in 24 to win in 25. I mean, both were very good. You know, mine are like stupid. At least yours are in the realm of plausibility.
Yeah, I'm just saying anything can happen at any time, which was crazy. I think I for my money, I think there's just the Eagles are just too talented a team for anything other than a huge run. I don't think anybody has an answer for what they're able to do. Especially their defensive line. It just looked so dominating, and not just in the Super Bowl, but if you go back to the NFC Championship with how comfortably they won that game over Washington, they looked like they were just inevitable. So
the NFC is super weak. The NFC is just really weak compared to the AFC. So no, truthfully, I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if they make it out on top, simply due to their competition in the playoffs. I just don't know who in the NFC is going to stand up and give them a run for their money. Not like the AFC where you've got 3 or 4 very good teams.
Yeah.
But that's why they play the games, Matt. We're going to have to wait and find out next year.
You got a little bit of a brain drain, right? I think Kellen Moore went to the Saints, so they lost their offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore is now the head coach over in New Orleans, so it's like you never know. Like and more could follow. More could follow more.
There's a lot of off season left. So we got free agent signings, we've got the combine and draft. So a lot of changes still to be made. So we'll be back next year with more prop bets. But that's it for the Super Bowl. Matt, I do have to tease, when we come back next time, do you know what month it is?
I believe I do, Sean. It will be almost March Madness, right? Are we coming back?
I'm not here next week. I'm not here next week. I'm in scenic Las Vegas for a trade show. So no show next week. But the week after that, it will be March Madness.
Be officially
is
March
back.
Madness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm already nauseous at the thought.
I am gonna have to start sending you clues. I wanted to tease this during this show, but I don't think I have any of my clues with me. I think I forgot them. So let me think of a riddle real quick that I can use.
Let me think of a riddle real quick. That's a very, very, very scary thought.
The theme, our theme of the month, which I have all planned out. I'm very excited to unveil it. The theme, so
you can keep it a secret. It's really okay.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, here's the clue I'm going to give you. A thin red line. Thin red line. That's the only clue I'm going to give you.
We're going to learn knitting this month with March Madness.
Red line. So, I'm excited to this month is going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
I'm super nervous, but we're going to have fun regardless. So definitely come back and join us. You're not going to want to miss it. Upfordebate.tv is our website. Go there. You'll get links to everywhere you need to be, including our videos on YouTube, where you should subscribe, and the audio wherever you get podcasts. Of course, you can get a hold of us as well at upfordebatetv@gmail.com is our email address. You can email us there with your thoughts and comments. But we're going to end it here. So on behalf of Matt, I'm Sean. Appreciate you being here. We're going to see you next time for another great episode of Up for Debate.